Hey everyone, Chris here. Welcome to Chris's Corner. Today I'm going to do a YouTube video for you on painting a firearm, or more specifically the stampings or the engravings on the side of a firearm, whether it be the slide of a semi-automatic pistol, an upper or lower receiver of any of your firearms. It could be done to pistols, rifles, and or shotguns. Your choice, your imagination is limitless. So anyway, I just want to briefly go over what I'm using and why I chose it, and what I'm not using and why I'm not using it. I've spent a little bit of time researching on YouTube, just like you guys watching me, and I've seen people use whiteout, and I disagree with whiteout. Whiteout is for paper, not for metal or for firearms. It'll flake off really easy, especially on a semi-automatic pistol, where the slide is actuating back and forth. I've seen people use crayon, and with crayon you get a ton of colors to choose from, and that's great, and I've seen some really good crayon jobs, but crayon is wax based, and when a firearm, after you put 30, 40, 50, 100 rounds through it all in one sitting, the crayon, the wax in the crayon is going to get hot, and it's going to melt, and it's going to end up like a big waxy mess. So I was out riding my motorcycle one day, and I was thinking about how am I going to paint the firearms, and I was actually in front of a cosmetic store. So I walked into the cosmetic store. This cosmetic store happened to be Ulta. Thanks, ladies, for the education on nail polish. Appreciate that. So I walked in and just started talking to the ladies there about what nail polish would, is the strongest, and what has the best wear. And there's a couple of products out there. There's actually, I think, 3 types of nail polishes. There's your basic nail polish, which is an acrylic, and it doesn't last very long at all. And then there's acrylic nail polish, which is oil based, and it has a hardener in it. And then you have a gel nail polish, and the gel nail polish takes forever to dry, and they actually sell this little tiny box that you paint your nails, and you throw your nails underneath the UV light, and it cures in like 30 seconds to a minute. However, when working with a firearm and painting a slide, we need more time than that. So I decided to go down the acrylic nail polish route, and I've done probably 4 firearms before making this video, and it turned out superbly. I'm really stoked about some of the firearms that I did. I've got to touch up a couple of other ones, but other than that, they turned out really good. So I decided I'm going to make a video about it, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to go through what I'm going to be using today, and then we'll get started, and I'll switch the camera angles for you, and we'll do a close-up showing you exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So first off, I'm going with a desert tan color, and the name on it is Sand Tropez. Anyway, desert tan. And to remove the excess nail polish or the excess paint off of the flat surfaces so that the paint stays inside the grooves, you want to use, or at least I'm using, nail polish remover, and specifically non-acetone based. The reason why you want to stay away from acetone based is because acetone will melt plastic or nylon or any other plasticky material, but it doesn't hurt, or rather, so the non-acetone nail polish will not hurt the metal on the firearm or the finish very much, because all it is paint thinner at the end of the day. Excuse me. So the other thing, in order to get the excess nail polish off, I'm going to be using these little pads. And I think women use this for removing makeup and whatever else they use them for. They're certainly not maxi pads. So at any rate, they're a little small for that. So these pads, it comes in a pack of like 80, and I think the pack was like $1.50, maybe $2. The nail polish remover is about the same, and the nail polish is about the same as, well, I think maybe the nail polish is like $3 to $6. So there's 2 sides to this. One has a rougher side, and it's very apparent, and the other side is think of it as a quilted cotton ball. It's very soft, pretty smooth, and that's what you're looking for with removing the excess paint. I've seen some other videos where people have used shop towels. That's okay. I think they're a little abrasive, but they're not, the fibers are woven in such a way that they're not going to get down in the grooves of the engravings or the stamping on the side of a firearm. In this case, the slide on my 1911. However, the other side of this is quilted and it's fairly flat, and it's just going to glide right across the top on the smooth surface and just remove the surface excess paint. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to get started. I'll switch camera angles and I'll see you in just a second. All right, see ya. Okay, everybody. So we switched camera angles, and one of the first things we're going to do is for those of you that like to over oil your guns and you've got oil and grease all over the place, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the pad and I'm just going to put a little bit of nail polish remover on it. You can use denatured alcohol, rubbing alcohol, or anything really, just as long as you degrease it. So we're just going to go over the area, gently rub that, removing any dirt, grime, grease, whatever. Got a little bit there. So do the other side. And the nice thing is, you know, when you use the rubbing alcohol or even the nail polish remover, it evaporates pretty quickly. You know, it gets pretty wet, but just blow it on a little bit, blow on it a little bit, and it'll dry pretty much right away. So, all right. So let's go back to the other side, and as you notice, this side's dry. So we will start there. So one of the things I want to talk about here is you don't want to use too thick of a coat when you apply it. You want to use thin coats so that you can see the stamping or the engravings through the thin layer of paint. If you do use thicker coats, it makes it harder for you to, and more work for you to remove the paint from the surface until you get down into where you can start to see the grooves. The issue is the nail polish remover will soak down as you're removing. It will actually sit on top of the paint that's inside these grooves, and it'll actually start to help you remove the paint from inside here. For instance, on this Springfield Armory stamping here on the side, I don't know if you can see that in the picture there, but the AR&M in Armory is not stamped as deep as the S over here. The middle of the Springfield is even a little, it's not as deep as the first couple letters and the last couple letters, and the same thing with the, actually the A is pretty deep, but the OR and Y is deeper than the R and the M. So I need to see that, take note of it, and just make sure that I don't press too hard. And you're not, by using thin coats or a thin coat of paint, you're not going to risk removing paint from within the grooves, or you'll have less of a risk. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'm just using, I'm going to use fairly thin coats. If it goes on pretty thick in the beginning, that's okay. That's not a big deal, because you can brush it around and you can move it away from the grooves so that you, when you're removing the excess paint, you can press harder on those thicker areas outside of the stamped engraving areas. So kind of like that. So I'm moving it further out. And all you're just trying to do is go across the letters to get the paint off the bristles. One of the things you want to take note of is you want to go against the grain of the letters as much as possible. because if you go in the direction of like this P for Springfield, if you go in this direction on that vertical line of the P, the bristle inside the brush will actually dig down inside that groove and actually pull the paint out while you're trying to put the paint in. So try to go in such a direction that is resistant to that happening. So that's all I'm going to do on this side. And one of the nice things about using the nail polish is it dries actually pretty quickly. And if you notice here on this particular slide, I've got it raised off of my cardboard. The reason being is when I flip it over with the wet paint, I don't want that sitting on the cardboard. So take note of that when you're painting whatever it is you're going to paint as well. So we're going to do this side for the model 1911-A1, and before I was going horizontally, but when I get to that dash, I'm going to actually do it vertically, and you'll see what I'm talking about, what I mean by going against the grain, if you will. So I got a little too much there. So I'm going to brush that back this way. And here's that dash. It actually worked out pretty well. It's sitting in there pretty good. But I'm going to go across it like that and move the excess, try to move the excess away from it so that I have a thin coat right above it. And that 1911 is pretty thick across there, so let's see if we can't move some of that paint away. Yeah, we'll do the A1 the same way. We'll go across that, and all right, so that's pretty much it for that side. And this will only take a minute or two to dry, and we're not talking about drying to where it's hard and it's nail polish and it's never coming off. Doesn't need to be that dry, but like for instance, when I flip this over, I can already see with the lights here in my $1 million studio that I have here in my home. I can see that the surface is actually dry. So I can actually run my finger across that and it's not removing the paint. So we're ready to remove the excess paint. So I'm going to take one of these pads and I'm just going to hold it up to the bottle, cover the hole, and just tilt it a little bit. And here we go. Just lightly go across that. You don't have to press very hard. That looks pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. And take another one, do the other side. And for these outside edges, you can actually press a little harder, just because you're not worried about removing anything from the grooves, because there's no grooves there. So, and what you're going to find, I want to point something out or talk about something, is as you're removing this paint, I don't know if you can see it. I think you can catch that right here. You can see some residual paint from where I wiped off the excess. Don't worry about that, at least right now in this part of the process. This is pretty much done. We're done here. But eventually what you'll want to do is just, let this dry overnight, cure, whatever, and go back the next day and go over these areas around the areas that you painted to remove the residual paint that has been wiped across your firearm or whatever, whether it be a slide, a upper receiver, lower receiver, or shotgun or rifle. So you can touch that up later just using the nail polish remover. Also, I wanted to touch on one other thing having to do with these pads. I had mentioned earlier that I've seen people use shop towels, and they look like they work pretty good because they're woven the way they are. They're cross woven. They shouldn't dig down into these grooves and pull the paint out. However, I've seen a couple people use terry cloth towels with all sorts of different degreasers or nail polish remover or whatever. But at any rate, a terry cloth towel has piling on it, and that piling, as you're rubbing across there, will get down into those grooves and pull the paint out. So I don't recommend using a terry cloth towel. These things are perfect and they're cheap. So if you've got a lot of firearms or a few firearms you want to do, it's worth the $2 to buy these. And or if you can go to the dollar store, you can find them cheaper. You can find them for half a buck or a buck. So anyway, so here's this side. Flip it over, and there's the other side. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, it's a really basic paint job, nothing special to it. Some of my other firearms were a little bit more involved. With my AR lower receiver, I did the fire in red, I did the safe in white, and everything else I used this desert tan color. And I even used a little zombie green on one of them. So anyway, I'll switch back now, and I hope this was really informative. Okay, so let's review what we just did. I chose nail polish because I thought it was going to be easy, and as it turns out it was. I could have gone down the hobby paint route, but I just happened to be in the shopping center. There's no hobby store there, and I felt that nail polish was just going to be pretty easy. And it turns out it was, and it is. And I still have a shit ton left. So anyway, so what did we learn today? Use thin coats. Don't press too hard, removing the excess paint. Worry about the residual paint that's left over after you remove the excess till a later date, the next day or several hours later. Let that paint dry up underneath. So let's see what else. Don't use whiteout. It's for paper, not for metal on guns. And crayon looks fantastic when you do it. Not entirely too sure about when your gun gets hot after putting a couple hundred rounds through it. Might be a goopy, messy, waxy looking thing. So anyway, this is it, the Springfield 1911 A1 with the desert tan or sand tropez, if you will. So anyway, until next time, I'm going to be doing some other product reviews and also some other how-tos. But keep an eye out on my channel. This is the first one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, like it. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I did my best. So anyway, until next time, take care. This is Chris with Chris's Corner. And be safe, shoot straight, and keep them in the 10 ring. Take care. Hey everybody, welcome to Chris's Corner. I'm Chris. No. All right.